A slow long build-up or no build-up at all? What works best when trying to make an impact in your players? Welcome to Creative Contraband.
Welcome to How to Be a Better DM, the show that helps dungeon masters tell better stories and run more engaging games. This is Creative Contraband, where we take ideas from elsewhere and smuggle them into our craft to take it one step further. And remember, all of this is brought to you by Session Zero Studios.
Hello everyone! How are you? Nice to meet you if this is your first time here. My name is Daniel, you can call me Danny, and I have been a semi-professional artist for about a decade now. I will be trying to bring you some valuable knowledge today, and in case you don't know, this is a segment for the How to Be a Better DM podcast. They take care of all things DMing per se. They are very good at giving tips and applicable advice, and I will be here trying to raise some questions, trying to inspire you and taking things from other crafts and see what we can learn and apply here. I also want to thank you all for all the engagement, all the comments and all the feedback I get, not only publicly but also privately. You can join our Discord in case you want to talk to us. We have a beautiful community, and today I have a very interesting topic. We are going to be talking about suspense versus surprise. Both are valid, both are useful, and both are different, but they are both impactful. So when do we use each of them and why? The main icon of the suspense is the film director Alfred Hitchcock. He made movies in the 50s and 60s, horror movies in particular, and he was very good at this. And he explained the difference between both with a very simple experiment. He said, if you have two people having breakfast together at a table, and suddenly out of nowhere a bomb explodes, that's going to surprise you. And that's, of course, okay. But if you have the same two people having the same breakfast at the same table, but you know beforehand that there is a bomb under the table ticking, then what you have is suspense. You have tension building. The tension is slowly rising and you know it's going to get to a climax. But you are not surprised by the explosion itself because you know it's coming. That can be even more impactful even though you don't have the surprise element. But both can work. And if you look at different media across the board, you're going to find examples of both. And I actually think they both work best when used together. If people are used to you as a game master or as a film director or as a writer building suspense, then they are going to wait for that suspense. They are going to expect to have the knowledge of the situation. And then when you surprise them, they are going to be, of course, surprised. So you can combine them both to get the best results. How does this look like at a table? Let's say, for example, your players are at the BBEG's lair. So you know in this dungeon you're going to find the BBEG. So that's the expectation, that's the knowledge that makes this be suspense and not surprise. And every time they open a door, every time they turn a corner, they don't know. They might be finding the BBEG or something very dangerous, and that builds suspense. On the other hand, if they were to find the BBEG on an unexpected place, that could be surprising for them. But that's usually not the most common thing, because, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this after another example, in games we have agency, and as players we can feel betrayed if our agency is taken away from us. So when we are watching a movie, let's say Game of Thrones as a series, they do that a lot. You know, they kill characters you didn't think could be killed, and they are not hinting beforehand that the character is going to die. So you have that surprise element, but you know the world is dangerous per se. It is part of the rules of the world you established. But let's say you were playing at a table and then at some random point one of the PCs got killed, got backstabbed, and he didn't have the chance to react. That would be unfair. That's not what we are playing for. We are playing because we want to make decisions, we want to overcome the danger, but for that we need for the danger to give us the option of overcoming it. So it can't just come as a surprise. And we are going to see how to fix that, but I wanted to give another example before that. I don't want to spoil a lot. So, spoiler alert for The Legend of Vox Machina, Season 2, if I remember correctly. At some point, let's say your party comes back to its hometown after killing one of the BBEGs or one of the main antagonists, and it turns out the hometown is now all destroyed. It's been burned to the ground. It had like a huge explosion and it just disappeared. That would be surprising, and that can be fair, especially if you are playing in a grimdark scenario. That can be very impactful. I would bet that for 90% of the players going back to their hometown expecting to, I don't know, to get a reward or something, and find that their hometown has been totally destroyed, that's going to make an impact. But you can also play with the suspense. Maybe if one of the characters is an expert on the arcane arts, maybe they can have a glimpse of what is happening far, far away. Or maybe someone can overhear a conversation. Maybe a peasant is telling someone else that a town a couple miles away was destroyed, and now you have planted the expectation on your players that their hometown might be destroyed, or is it another town? And now you will have the suspense at all times, because whenever they are going back, they are going to be thinking, are we going to find something, or maybe not? And that's how suspense works, and that is, of course, very impactful too. Now, when and how do we use surprise if we have to be mindful of the player's agency? My personal recommendation is that you never punish your PCs directly in a surprising way, because players have full control on their characters almost by definition. I mean, not about what happens to them, but how they react to it. And if you take the reaction away, then you are taking away the agency. But you are the owner or the main owner of the world. You represent the world. So everything that moves around your PCs is up to you, really. You have to be careful, though, not to bring any Deus Ex Machinas to the situation. If you don't know what a Deus Ex Machina is, you can go to the first episode of Creative Contraband. I have been told that it is one of the best ones, so I highly recommend it. But yes, you have to be careful that everything you are doing has enough of a background, has a robust explanation, so it is not something that came out of nowhere. Like, if your BBEGs or your group of antagonists don't have any means to burn a city to the ground or to make a city explode, and then your players come back to their hometown and the city exploded, it's like, dude, this makes no sense. Like, we were playing by some rules, This world had some rules and now you are being unfair about it. So that's something you have to be very careful about. If you are careful not to do that, not to bring Deus Ex Machinas into the table, you can very much play with that. And actually what I said about the peasant conversation can be seen as a Chekhov's gun, or maybe even foreshadowing. Again, I talked about it in the first episode. Very good episode. I highly recommend it. Not because I did it, but because there is lots to learn over there. So, yeah, that about being careful with the surprises. Going back to Game of Thrones, you can maybe even try to walk the line and kill NPCs or DMPCs unexpectedly if you do it correctly. If you are in a very dangerous dungeon and you know all your lives are at risk because the situation itself is very dangerous, and or because the world you are playing in has no magic or has no resurrection or healing magic, or because you were not cautious enough with your healing spells or things like that, and you go into the danger knowingly, and then a trap triggers and a couple arrows kill, let's say, the NPC or NPC companion of the party, then my take as a game master is that that is fair. Of course, and if you have been here for a while, you know this already, I think the players and their enjoyment and our enjoyment are the most important things at the table. If you're going to feel everyone feeling bad, then that's probably not the way. And I don't mean that they are not sad or they don't go through grief. I mean, role-playing is a way of experiencing and experimenting with those feelings. What I mean is that they don't feel like they have been betrayed, or that they don't feel like you are playing against them, because that is a big problem. But yeah, that's how you can pull off surprise at a table, and that's the difference it has with Suspense. Now, we talked about how they look, what their difference is, and the extra cautions you should have with surprise, but when do you choose them? When do you choose to build suspense, and when do you choose to use surprise? That's a very personal matter, but in general terms, my opinion is that well-used suspense is easier to achieve than well-used surprise, and it generally is more impactful on average. It's also less risky. I was once at a one-shot in a local shop, and the game master, who I am still playing with, we were playing D&D 3.5, and we were going to retrieve the main artifact we needed as a party, the one we were hired to retrieve. And when we were there, at the end of the dungeon, I was playing a warlock. Suddenly my... what's the English word? My patron started asking me to steal the artifact and give it to him, for him not to hurt my family. That is, of course, something the whole party heard, because the dungeon master was telling it to me. He was telling me how my character was listening to that at the same time we were doing the heist. And that built so much suspense, and I mean, at the moment it was surprising for me to listen to that, but because it was a Chekhov's gun that was planted long ago, it didn't feel like a Deus Ex Machina. And now you build an expectation. Now the whole table is thinking at all times, is he or is he not going to betray the party? Now, betraying the party is a whole other thing. Many game masters don't like it, and I totally agree. I think, especially in longer campaigns, it can lead to very ugly stuff, but in this case, at least, it worked like a charm, and I had so much fun. And I wanted to give that as an example of how suspense can enhance your usual fantasy story of, okay, someone hired a party and you went to retrieve the artifact and you did it and you got your reward, and now you are there and you have to make a choice and you have a moral dilemma ahead of you when you thought there was no story left. And that was just great. But okay, there is more I could be saying, but I think I am yapping a little bit now, and I don't want to take any more time away from you. If you want to talk a little bit more about this, you can find the Discord on the description. You can also find me on Instagram at gamemaster.hof, or you can find us at How to Be a Better DM podcast also on Instagram. So yeah, that's it. Hope you liked the episode. We have some more interviews coming, and I highly recommend you to go and listen to the previous ones. But we will have more coming. I hope this episode was of your liking. In the next episode, I will also be talking a little bit about some comments I have gotten, about some questions I have received through Instagram, and I will be leaving, as I usually do, some extra quotes or words that you can use at your table and enhance the experience for your players, because that's what this is all about. So yeah, thank you very much. Remember to leave a comment, leave us a like. I love when I have feedback. I love to know what you think about this, and I love to be able to make better podcasts for you guys. So yeah, have the best of weeks, and until next Monday, let's roll initiative.
This is Creative Contraband, brought to you by Session Zero Studios.